Well, good afternoon, everybody. I am absolutely delighted to be with you this afternoon, especially so many good friends in the audience and people who really care about this topic and about this situation. Many of you are from Yemen, and I know you care about the homeland very deeply. And believe it or not, a lot of us do, too, here in Washington, in the government. And of course, part of the challenge is to keep Yemen on the radar. And we had some excellent meetings last week in New York at the UN General Assembly with Chairman of the Presidential Leadership Council, Rashad al-Alimi, and other meetings on Yemen, right? Yemen's competing with Ukraine and Russia and COVID and climate change and a lot of other things. So for you all to gather and for the Washington Center to host this at this particular time is really fantastic. And Hatem, I want to thank you and Saif and Marwa in particular for organizing. And for all of you to coming out this afternoon. I've followed some of the sessions throughout the day, and some really important points have been made. I want to make just a couple of remarks about how we see things and what needs to happen, honestly, in the next couple of days, because the U.S. priority is seeing this truce expanded. And I'm not going to come up here and tell you or any Yemeni that the truce is the best we can do. We got to do a lot better. I think we owe the Yemeni people that. I think the international community is very keen to see progress continue. I know that our president is. I know that so many Yemenis are, and I think that's what's brought you here today. So I'm not going to say that the truce is everything. The truce is the first step. And it's very important that it be continued and expanded, because even though it's not everything, it has brought a lot of benefit, to Yemeni people. I think if you look at 25,000 Yemenis traveling on commercial airlines for the first time out of Sana'a since 2016, I think that's really important. There's more fuel on the market in northern Yemen in particular, but that's very important for flour mills and humanitarian access and the transportation network. And then I think if we look at the issue of ties roads, honestly, from our point of view, there's no excuse to continue the siege in Taiz. It's a humanitarian crisis of its own, and to cut people off from their loved ones, from medical care, from water resources, make people drive, really difficult and long distances to get in and out of parts of that city. There's no justification for it. Trying to move into territory in which there's coordination, cooperation, admittedly among people who have been fighting each other. But if we're going to get to where we need to be on Yemen, then the conflict parties have to find a way to talk. And I think if you look at the last couple of months, since the truce first started on April 2nd, there has been some very good contact across party lines. There needs to be more of it. Much of that I'm referring to in the Military Cooperation Committee meetings, those meetings that were chaired in Amman, over the last couple of months. I wasn't there, but I know there was a lot of banging on the table. There were raised voices. There was anger expressed, but there was also some good work done, and I think more of that needs to happen. When we look at the truce also, we see that civilian casualties are down 60%. They should be down to zero. The fact that there are still civilians being killed in Yemen even during a truce is really very upsetting to me, and I think we're very committed in seeing that the civilian casualties are reduced to zero, and that we're moving into something that is bigger and better and more meaningful and more significant. And those benefits that have come from the truce will be expanded and extended. So we look at the fuel, we look at the flights, the commercial air flights. I think all of that is quite significant. But an important day is coming up on Sunday. Will Yemenis decide, will outside powers decide that the truce should be extended? Is there even any doubt in our mind about why this should be? And shouldn't every Yemeni party want to see the truce extended? Okay, let's not think about al-Qaeda. I'm not thinking about those guys. They're sort of on the margins from our point of view, but I'm talking about the Houthis, and I'm talking about the PLC, I'm talking about the Saudi-led coalition. I know from my conversations with the PLC last week in New York and our ambassador in Yemen, Steve Fagan, his conversations with the PLC, I think we know that they're very supportive of the truce and will do whatever it takes to continue supporting and delivering benefits to the Yemeni people. I have some other questions about the Houthis because I understand that that they're driving up, making very strong demands right now of the UN envoy, who's spent time in Sana'a and has been in Muscat and moving around the region, as I have been. And this isn't the time to play those kinds of games. I mean, this is the time to put realistic priorities on the table and not to drive the price beyond what is possible. We all want to see, and by that I don't mean just the United States, I think the international community is hugely committed right now to Yemen, and that's why I think we have to seize this particular moment. We cannot tolerate any return to war, either on October 3rd or at any point going forward, because we have put this first step into place, and let's get on that first step and get to the second step. When we talk about salary payments for Yemeni civil servants who have been doing, important work and not being paid for years. I mean, I'm glad to hear that both sides want to see salaries paid. Well, there should be a mechanism that can be put into place so that those civil servants can be paid, and I'm confident that that can be done if there's this willingness to do that. And I'm hearing the willingness on the part of Saudi Arabia, where I visited last Friday. I'm hearing the willingness on the part of the PLC and the Yemen government. What am I hearing on the other side? I'm a little bit unclear about what the other side is demanding. And I'm not going to put all the onus on the Houthis here also, because I don't think there would be a truce if the Houthis hadn't agreed to it, and they publicly did in April and June and August, and I think that is important. And I think there are some elements within their leadership who want to see this continue and expand. But we also need the rest of that organization to be supportive. Think of the story that was told this morning about the Yemeni schoolgirl and her hopes and aspirations. And I thought that was very touching and reminds us to think about the children. Many of us have children, and to think about the next generation in Yemen, which deserves, again, not just a truce, even though I think that's significant, but peace in Yemen and an opportunity to rebuild, and no more fear of destruction from any quarter, not from the air, not from the ground, not from landmines, not from sea mines. That's what we're trying to achieve here, and I think, again, that we have the international community in a very strong posture to support this effort. And so that, again, it's why I feel we have to seize this moment. There can be no going back. We all must put pressure on the parties in Yemen to choose peace, not only on October 2nd, but going forward. And if we move into a 6-month or an expanded truce, more time for diplomacy to work out some of these technical problems that we have on salary payments, and more destinations for commercial flights. I mean, the Jordanians have been doing a great job receiving flights of Yemeni aircraft, but we want Cairo in there, we want Doha in there, Mumbai, India. These are places where I think Yemenis have family, they have friends, they have loved ones, they can go for medical care that they can't get inside the country. As I've traveled around the United States and talked to Yemeni Americans, they've spoken to me about the importance of Sana'a Airport. And I'm glad that there has been progress, but again, we are not prepared to stop at what's been achieved. I'm also glad that the United States, the president, put a high emphasis on the humanitarian situation, and the United States has followed through. We're trying to lead by example. $5 billion that American citizens have donated to Yemen through USAID, through World Food Program, through NGOs. It's making a difference. And still it's a drop in the bucket because the UN plan for Yemen is still significantly underfunded. So we need the donors to continue to be generous and come forward. And even so, I don't think Yemenis want to continue to live on handouts from the international community. That's why several of the speakers today have talked about the importance of the economy and why we believe that the economy is, in many ways, one of the key challenges here that we have to address. Yemenis want jobs, they want security, and we have to continue to put a lot of emphasis, I think, on the economic situation. So let's go forward. A very significant moment. The United States is very much with you and with the people of Yemen and trying to work through this war and finally turn the corner so that you all, the Yemeni people inside Yemen, can sort out the future with our support, with our help, absent foreign interference in Yemen. Let's get the foreign interference out of Yemen so that we can have a situation in which Yemenis can decide the future of their country. Thank you very much.